1 in 10 people are depressed. Imagine that. Average risk of depression is 10%. Top 10 countries with highest rates of depression. Red countries all over the world. Depression feels like you can't focus, you can't sleep, you can't eat. Life becomes uncomfortable. Life becomes so hard. Hi! Today I'm resuming my YouTube channel and I want to talk about this book. This book is one of my favorite books on Audible. I wish they sponsored me. So I was in this stage at one part in my life when I was doing medical residency, and it was a very difficult experience. I have to admit that. So this book was like absolutely helped me. It was really like I cannot recommend a book on Audible other than this book. This is the first thing you should read because you're gonna have stress in your life. You're gonna have a lot of things that make you sad in your life, but this book was just amazing. So this book speaks about something called cognitive distortions. So I'll just be reading a couple of scenarios from the book. So the cognitive distortions, as I said, they're thinking errors. So particularly, I'm going to mention like 4 examples. I'm going to read the list to you because it's really, really good. So all in one thinking, you see things in black and white categories. If your performance falls short of perfect, you see yourself as a total failure. Now, for me, this was like my bread and butter every single time. I would fail once and think, oh shit, I'm a failure. I'm never gonna be able to do this again. And yeah, and this kind of thinking, there's 2 things. First, it does not make you want to do anything because you think that you're a failure. 2, will prevent you from doing a lot of things in the future. So, for example, you want to try something new and I think, oh, I failed before, why should I try something new? This is extremely dangerous. Magnification, catastrophizing, or minimization exaggerate the importance of things, such as your goof up or someone else's achievement, or you inappropriately think things until they appear tiny, your own desirable qualities of the other fellow's imperfections. So, magnification is also one of the things that I used to do a lot. So I would do one mistake in the residency or in the call or at work, and I think, oh shit, they're gonna kick me out of work. That was it. I'm getting fired. So if you think like that again, life becomes miserable. You become fearful of any mistakes, which is impossible because we all do mistakes. It's kind of inevitable at this point. The third one is should statements. You try to motivate yourself with shoulds and shouldn'ts. Now this is big. As if you had to be whipped and punished before you could be expected to do anything. Musts and oughts are also offenders. The emotional consequence is guilt. When you direct should statements toward others, you feel anger, frustration, and resentment. Now, should statement, now this is very controversial. Like, I'm gonna get hate for this, but you know what? You can just look up the book and see the research on it. Using should statements feel like you have to do something. So everything becomes work. Even the things that are like a hobby becomes work. So this happens quite often when you love a sports like swimming or whatever you like, and then you feel like you want to wake up in the morning because you should do it. It doesn't become fun anymore. This statement, this should word, takes the fun out of anything. And sooner or later you'll hate your job and you hate your life, and that's how you fall into depression. Emotional reasoning. You assume that your negative emotions necessarily reflect the way things really are. I feel, therefore it must be true. So if you, like, again, this is kind of similar to the first one, but it's a little bit different. It's, you failed once. I was like, oh, I failed. That means I will never succeed. So I am a failure. Or I didn't do good at the sport. So it means I am not good at sports. Because something happened once, you take it as a reality, which is extremely not true. You can try again. Everyone fails. Some people are born better than others, like at specific things. That's true. But without working harder, no one will evolve. So this is huge. Like, people think because they feel this, and this is the truth, which is a huge problem. Another thing I want to speak about is this trial was done. This is the link from the NCBI. I'm going to show the image here. So it showed that depressed patients who have used this book have less depression and less relapse or return of their depression later on. I'm going to link some techniques over there. So the book also goes through a lot of other examples. It goes through a resident who was a psychiatry resident in this and shows you how the resident himself was supposed to make people feel happy, himself gets depression. And it shows you the exact mechanics of how this happens. And this is very relatable to everyone. And in fact, like if you can have trouble at work, with relationships, and thinking like this will lead you down a very bad road, and you cannot even make sense of things. So this is why knowing about this and analyzing your thoughts before getting too deep into it can be life-changing. So the triple column technique is a technique used for analyzing the cognitive distortions. I'm going to show them on the screen here. So this is the example. So the cognitive distortion is actually quite private, so I don't want to expose myself. But if you look them up, so I tend to use this column. It's written in the book. I'm going to show an example here, but I'm going to also talk about this here. I always waste my weekends. I never do anything at that time. They are right. I am a total failure, and I can't do multiple jobs. I can't even succeed at my main job. So this is one thought that you could have after like messing up your job or doing whatever. So after you read the cognitive distortions, you need to interpret what's wrong with this thought. So you have this thought, it's like, I always waste my weekends. That's overgeneralization and catastrophizing. You don't always waste your weekends. Some weekends are useful. But this is not true. I'm a total failure. This is emotional reasoning and labeling. Because you failed once, you label yourself as a failure, which is completely wrong. Everyone fails. Every single person fails. And it depends on how big the failure is. But labeling yourself as a failure is inaccurate. Catastrophizing, again, it's the same as overgeneralization, but you're not seeing. So when you say also, I am a total failure, it implies that you had no success before, which is also untrue. You must succeed at something at any point of your life. It is not, we all fail and win. You don't win all the time, you don't fail all the time. So this is an example of the triple column technique. So when you do this, if you write down your thoughts and then you analyze them carefully, you will notice that these are present. And when you notice these are present, you can talk back to them. Like, oh, is this really true? Oh, you can't do really multiple jobs. Oh, are you really a total failure? And then you would analyze this and look at other examples and notice that these thinking errors are actually an error. It's not a true thing. So in the end, I cannot recommend enough this book. You need to get this book ASAP, please. It's absolutely mind-blowing. It will change you completely. I just touched on the surface of the book. It goes through many, many more techniques. The glossary is huge. It's revised like and updated. I think this book is quite old actually. But anyways, absolute recommendation, and see you next time.